Namaste and welcome to Live, Love, Engage. I am Gloria Grace Rand, your host, and today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff that the gentleman who is a guest today is involved in, which is about helping blind people see. I'm just going to leave it at that for now because it's pretty wild. Anyway, welcome to Live, Love, Engage, Nate.
Thank you so much, Gloria. I appreciate
the
it.
last name because I just realized I was freaking out on it. I'm just like, I forgot already how to say it, but Zeleznick.
Perfect.
Got it. Okay, good. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to have you. We just met actually recently at a JV mastermind that was hosted by David Fagan, which was an awesome event. And let me tell you a little bit about Nate. He is the CEO of Vibravision LLC and the founding director of the Vibravision Foundation for the Blind. He's a serial entrepreneur and leader who's also run one of the most successful martial arts and meditation academies in Utah for over 20 years. And that meditation and martial arts program is something that he and his brother Mike actually were given permission by the royal family of Central Java, Indonesia, to teach as the first non-Indonesians. So it involves, it's a secretive martial meditation, breathwork, and expanded awareness program called Merpati Putih. And it also helps to bring about this groundbreaking non-visual perception skill called Vibravision, which he's going to be explaining in a moment. But anyway, I want to just, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and let you just dive right in and explain a little bit about what Vibravision is, and then we'll get into a little bit about like what your mission is about that. So how'd you get started on this first off?
Right. Well, I would say that creation and the universe never makes mistakes. So all of this came about in a very, very serendipitous way. Back in 1998, I was still a baby, and as a longtime martial artist, I was interested in the internal energy side of the martial arts, not just the kicking and punching and defending oneself or cage fighting, but what about the meditative? What about the chi? So when I saw an ad in Black Belt magazine that guaranteed inner power in 2 weeks or my money back, I was like, yes, let's get chi in 2 weeks. I don't want to go to Tibet and meditate. I don't want to go to India, and I don't want to have to live in a monastery for 20 years. I want chi now, because that's the American attitude. And so I ordered this course, and it came with a little pamphlet, about 5 pages, with a really hazardous method in there that I still don't to this day know if it worked. But it also came with a VHS cassette that showed Indonesian martial arts. Now, I knew some of my clothes were made in Indonesia, but I had no idea really where it was. And I didn't know, well, I knew Java was from Java because I drank coffee, but I didn't know anything about the martial arts structure in Indonesia. And it turns out there are over 700 different recognized martial arts styles, but I'd never seen them. And so when I saw this videotape showing martial arts demonstrations, I was blown away. They were doing things that I'd never seen people do before, but there was one thing that really stood out, and that was people who were blindfolded, and they were running through obstacle courses and jumping up and smashing clay pots that were hanging from strings, and they were riding motorcycles through traffic.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, they even had military people there shooting guns, and they were shooting air rifles, and people were holding balloons like in their teeth and out here to the sides, and these people had hoods on, and they were shooting, like looking this way and shooting these targets out of people's mouths and fingers. And I just was like blown away. But then right after that, it showed a couple blind people
Mm.
that were doing a demonstration for the Sultan of Oman. And they were having people from the audience come down and write on a whiteboard, write a word and draw a shape or draw something.
Mm-hmm.
And then these blind people would come over and they would use their hand and they would scan,
Right.
what is that? And then they would write the word and then they would duplicate the picture of whatever they saw. Now, I saw this, and my brother Mike and I, who have been walking side by side on this road for a long time, since the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
we thought it had to be fake. We're like, this has got to be BS, because
Yeah.
blindfolded magicians do stuff like this.
Right.
But something really stuck out. The military people and also blind people doing this.
Mm.
And, we watched it a few times, because when you see something like that, it's like Lay's potato chips. You can't eat just one. We couldn't just watch once, especially since we grew up watching ninja movies and Bruce Lee, and that was like our main source of martial arts food right there. And we went to bed, and the very next day, I was stopped at a traffic light right in front of the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind.
Mm.
And there was a blind person there waiting to cross the street in front of me. They got the opportunity to cross. They heard the chirps, and her dog led her around the light pole. Or excuse me, her dog went around the light pole, and she went right into it with her head.
Oh, shoot.
And I'm sitting there, this is happening like 7 feet away from me, and I'm just going,
Yeah.
whoa, what if people had been coming, or that dog did not do the right thing helping her cross the street? That could have been fatal.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Ding. I just saw something last night with blind people doing amazing things. I wonder if those Indonesian people help lots of blind people, or if they could help people here. So right then, I was hit by a stroke of inspiration that I was going to find those Indonesian people, and I was going to at least ask them if they could help blind people here. Now, I don't know why. I didn't know any blind people at that time. I'd never known any blind people at that time, but I was just compelled. I was drawn. I had to find out. And I also wanted to learn about the martial arts system too, because it was, it was unbelievably cool and mind-blowing. So I took 2 weeks at the local county library, because this is in the earlier days of the internet, and I tracked them down. And I asked them, once I got a hold of somebody who spoke English, I asked them, do you train blind people? And they said, yeah, we have a foundation and we've trained thousands of blind people. And we use this same technology for the special forces. Our most elite paratroopers use this in addition to night vision. And they have for over a decade. And I'm just going, I have to see this for myself. So my brother and I, we pooled all of our money, sold all of our stuff, and we sponsored the very first demonstration of Vibravision in the United States in 1999. And so that's how we got started. And now here we are 21 years later. We've proven it to medical science, optical science, neuroscience. We train blind people, and we've had hundreds of people train in the discipline, the Merpati Putih, which is the white dove system. The Vibravision is one of the 5 aspects of it. And we're just so blessed that we are able to spread this message, because this is something where humanity is going into a new era of consciousness and ability and understanding. And it's time for us to know how these things happen and how we can do them too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think actually it really was no coincidence that you watch this tape and then the very next day you happen to see a blind person crossing the street. It's like, nah, the universe was knocking on your door and saying, this is for you to deal with. So what makes this, or I should say, I guess, is what is so different about what this, Vibravision is versus other forms of like energy work and meditation? What makes this Indonesian style so much different?
Sure. Well, first of all, people go, okay, I'm going to preface this. me just pre-frame this with all meditation is wonderful. Yoga is wonderful. Breath work, so vital. It's the first thing we do when we're born, and it's the last thing we do before we die. And it's one of the functions that we pay the very least attention to, except for when we're out of it. Or if we have, asthma, bronchitis, or COVID.
Yeah.
So, but it's something we just take for granted as far as breathing. So, first of all, I just want to make sure I put that in there, that anything somebody is doing to improve themselves is wonderful. Now, back to us. So, in the Merpati Putih system, there are 5 aspects for the full Merpati Putih system, which the first one is martial arts forms. Second one is fighting and combat, because it is a martial art originally, or at its core. The third part is breath work that is designed, and it's different than any breath work that I have ever seen anywhere. And everybody who's done every kind of breath work comes and goes, this is different. Like, yes. So it works on our aerobic and anaerobic health, our forced exhalation velocity, or our VO2 max, but it turns our entire body into one big electrical circuit, which it already is, but it creates an inductance field of a much greater magnitude in and around our body. It is truly a rarity. The fourth part is energetic healing. So we understand everything is energy, and now with the understanding of quantum physics, that if you change it in the quantum field, you change it in physical reality. Well, this is a quantum healing modality that doesn't channel energy. It actually, we become the storage house from the breath work, and we are able to then give energy because we're able to replenish it ourselves. And then the fifth aspect is Vibravision, which is, it's a multisensory ability unlike anything else on the planet. So people get all the benefits of the breath work and the meditation and the multisensory expanded awareness. But with the Vibravision program, we don't make people do martial arts. They get to just learn it, which is unique in the whole world. Because in Indonesia, you still, to this day, if you were to go there, it would be between 3 to 5 years of hard iron body style martial arts training before you would learn any of the Vibravision.
Oh, wow.
People are allowed to come into our academy for a 5-day immersion workshop and learn it from day one. And even experienced meditators agreed that this is the next level. One of our participants, they have been to over 50 different meditation and spirituality, energetic and psychological retreats over the past 2 years. They've never experienced anything like what we're offering. And they're like, this is the next level of like functional human consciousness.
Wow. Is there any age limit or minimum age or maximum age that somebody needs to be able to learn this?
Yes. So we start people now, we're starting to train people as young as 8, maybe a mature 7-year-old. Getting kids to sit down for meditation is a little bit more difficult, especially prolonged meditation that is designed for a specific purpose. However, from, let's say, 8 years old all the way up to still having a heartbeat, if person has moved beyond that, we cannot help them. But as long as they are still living and breathing, we have the ability to help them with this in a way that we haven't seen anything else be able to.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great question.
All right. Yeah, and so then I guess that means that really that anybody can learn this. Then it's not necessarily just for people with vision impairments, right?
Yes. Well, originally we brought this, and I should clarify that my brother Mike and I were the very first non-Indonesians to ever be allowed to learn Merpati Putih, ever. They kept it as a secret within their society, well, within a national heritage of Indonesia. And they had trained over 1 million people before me, before my brother, but they kept it for Indonesian nationals only. And so when we came along, we started learning this. It was always with the main focus of helping those with visual impairment. And now we're offering it to people who are blind, but also people who are not physically blind, but understand that we're all blind to what we don't see, and that we have a far greater potential than what society has given us permission to believe we have.
Mm.
And, we're all products of our conditioning.
Right.
So, everybody comes in as an open slate and with infinite possibility. And our real main limitations are believing we're limited. And so what Vibravision does is helps people release a lot of those shackles
Mm.
so that they can start to see their true potential and abilities that they have with this amazing vessel that we get during this lifetime. So we're just honored that we get to share it with all of humanity,
Mm. That's
not
all.
just the blind, but
Yeah,
all of humanity.
that's great.
Yeah.
Now I know, starting down this sounds like, it was a new path for you, or maybe a variation on an existing path perhaps, but as entrepreneur myself, and I know that a lot of our listeners and viewers probably are, the entrepreneurial journey is not always easy. So did you run into any stumbling blocks and getting this going, um, and if so, how did you overcome them? Because it's starting something new can be very challenging.
Amen. Amen. So, yes, there have been 20 years worth of stumbling blocks.
Mm.
So, we've been, obviously, we're trying to, let's be real, we're giving people Jedi powers, like legitimate Jedi powers that are backed by science now, but they weren't always.
Mm.
So, even though they had been proven and been in use in Indonesia, people in America tend to be a lot more skeptical,
Yeah.
especially of things coming out of the East as being woo woo, or
Mm.
if there's nothing wrong with woo woo. If it works, it works.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure that we had a good scientific and medical and I guess you'd call it a experiential background
Mm.
here before we really started to unveil it public
Right.
large way.
Yeah.
And so going through having been locked out, shut out, told we're fakes, told that we can't do this, it's impossible, blah, blah, blah. It's basically, I would say it's the people that every successful world changer has had to face. Just not the exact same people, but the same sentiments. You try something new, you're going to have blowback. You're going to have people that don't think that that's possible. But how did we get through?
Yeah.
Well, we were allowed to teach the martial art, the Merpati Putih martial arts. So we started off with an adults only program, and then we started training kids. And then we opened up a meditation and fitness class only with no martial arts. And then we started to really get into pilot projects. And I sent my brother Mike over to live with the royal family of Java for 6 months and learn the Vibravision technique directly from the people who released it.
Right.
And now we're doing the Vibravision, and we're pivoting our focus toward Vibravision because that's our original mission. And that's the one that's going to make the biggest impact, not just on our local community,
Right.
not just the blind community, but the human community.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely, I will just add in here that I am going to put in the show notes a link to the YouTube video that you sent me prior to being on the podcast today, because I was just blown away by what you were describing. But I do think it was smart the way you decided to do that. It's like, let's kind of move people in gradually by, it's like, because I think that's what happens a lot of times. It's like people need to be still in their comfort level a little bit, but if you can start to slowly stretch them a little bit, and by exposing them to something a little bit new, and that it can be a little bit more easier to take them when you finally blow them away with this. So that was a good idea. What do you really think? We're coming into, as we're recording this, it's the end of September, and we've been dealing with this pandemic all year long. And, it's been, I've talked to a lot of different people on the podcast during this year, and different theories about even why this has happened. Maybe it was sort of a wake-up call for humanity. what do you think the future holds for us, especially in the area of spirituality and self-knowledge?
Hmm. You know, I love that question. Well, I can't really um, postulate why the whole COVID thing has happened. Who knows about that? I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
But what does the future hold for humanity? Well, number one, our technology is advancing faster than it ever has before. So people are becoming more and more reliant on it. However, one thing that is really, I've noticed during the COVID times, we'll just call it the COVID times, that more and more people are getting interested in mindfulness and meditation. They're working out at home. They're doing things of their own volition in order to improve themselves, because COVID has given a lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people, a big wake up call that there's more to life than working for money to give it to someone else as you die, or to just go on another cruise. There's a lot more in here.
Right.
And so the future of humanity, especially with things that are happening in quantum physics and also the scientific testing on breathwork and meditation that's happening,
Mm.
is opening it's creating a new paradigm for humanity where these ancient methods are now being validated by our Western science.
Mm.
And when we do that and they start to make sense, more people get on the bandwagon and they start getting the benefits too. I mean, you think about meditation in the 1950s, nobody even knew what it was.
Right. Yeah.
And now it's so funny because there's a meme that went around Facebook after COVID started, right after COVID started. It's a picture of a lion and the wind is blowing its mane back and it says, meditated once, enlightened AF. And it's just like so majestic. And there are, you know, even though there are a lot of people saturating the market right now saying, come learn affirmations, come learn meditations, come learn yoga for me, because I watched the YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
There are still a lot of people out there that have devoted years or decades of their lives to learn these modalities in a very precise way to help people. And, you know, no matter what, if somebody's doing something good for themselves, they're doing something good for everyone.
That's true.
Not just themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I definitely believe that, because I think the more people do, as you say, start raising their consciousness, doing different things like this, practicing yoga, uh, meditation, all of these ancient arts, they're still around today for a reason, aren't they? You know, I think it's
Yes.
that they work. And so it is good that we can start documenting it for this Western mind that is so um, not suspicious, but it's like it's like we want to know the facts. We want to see it backed up with data. We don't just trust our intuition. And I think that is also one of the good things. I think more people are starting to actually trust their intuition. And I think meditation is one of the good ways to help people do that.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
how can how can people get involved with this, and what, maybe if someone's listening now and wants to be able to find out more about your programs? And it sounds like you have, you know, quite a few. So what would be, how can people do that and see if they can also unlock this type of superhuman, in a way,
Yeah.
ability, I guess, for themselves?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that I would encourage every single human being to do is watch a documentary called Superhuman, The Invisible Made Visible. And that's available on Amazon. That's also available at superhumanfilm.com. The reason I mention this is because, as you mentioned, having science come in and validate and measure what's happening when people do what would be called impossible or superhuman, extrasensory.
Mm-hmm.
So important to understanding how this happens. So we're featured in this documentary along with a lot of other people from a lot of different areas, showing under observation conditions and scientific testing conditions that we're so much more than our mind. We're so much more than our physical body.
Right.
Our consciousness is unlimited and we can do amazing things. I would recommend everybody watch that. That's the first thing to get involved. Now, as far as with what we do, what is Vibravision? It's basically the ability to see without your eyes.
Mm.
So, really quickly, a physicist who came and evaluated Vibravision, he was one of his testimonials, which you can see on our YouTube channel. His name's Isaac Hunsaker, and his wife has little diodes, little light things that she puts in her ears, and they emit a blue light to help her with seasonal affective disorder, to cure her depression during the winter.
Right.
Because he said we have light receptors all over every single square inch of our body, including inside of our ears. So what Vibravision is the ability to catch the light or catch the energy from different objects that vibrate at different rates and make a mental picture with that. But we have to train ourselves in the right way. So how people get involved is, first of all, come to an immersion. We run 5-day immersive events in Ogden, Utah at this time. We're looking to branch out, but right now they're in Ogden, Utah. And if people go to our website, which is vibravision.com, and click on the immersion tab, they'll be able to find out more and apply right then. We are very selective of who we train in this, because it was a gift from the royal family of Java to us that we would only train people who had the purest and most noble intentions. And we have, you know, it's life. You're dealing with humans. We've had some very interesting characters apply. And so we make sure that everybody who's in there is going to feel comfortable with everybody else in there, and that we're giving this knowledge to the people who are going to use it for the very best purpose for themselves. And so that's the very best way to get involved. Look at our YouTube channel, go and apply for an immersion. The next one is coming up November 6th through the 10th. And it takes about 2 weeks to do the background check. I mean, we're serious about this. We're serious. So everybody appreciates that when they come. They're like, oh, I'm so glad you do the background check. But that's the very best way. The website, superhumanfilm.com, and through our YouTube channel. Inspire yourself and then come learn.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, it's interesting because well, especially my husband loves watching history, and especially dealing with military history and science fiction and things. And I'm just thinking, yeah, you know, in the wrong hands. And as you mentioned, I guess the Indonesian army, I mean, or I guess they're special forces, you said, right? They know how to do this. And yeah, I can see that there can be some potential for abuse, I guess, in the wrong hands. So it's good that you do check. And you've been able to still do these trainings, I mean, amidst the pandemic that we've been having this year, that hasn't impacted you too much?
Yeah, well, yes. So we've done 2 so far this year. The pandemic did definitely impact us big time, because this is an in-person training process.
Okay, that's what I thought.
You can't do this remotely. This has to be just like if you're going to say learn to ride a horse, you need a horse.
Yeah.
If you're going to play a musical instrument, you need an instrument. All the theory in the world will be great, but it's not going to help you build the skill. And what we are doing is helping people learn, develop, build, and use a new skill. So it requires in-person training. So yes, COVID has been difficult for us. However, we're back in the swing of things, and we have a level 1 and level 2 in November, and then we're going to really ramp it up for starting in 2021. And we have a very special offer right off the bat. It's $2,000 discount for anybody that comes to our November workshop. It's immediate, bang. And we also have ambassador discount. So if you refer friends, you can come for free. So please just reach out and let us know how we can help you with that.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So tell me again the website. It's vibravision.com. Is that correct?
Vibra, V-I-B-R-A, vision.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I will have that in the show notes as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So awesome. This has been really great. It's been fascinating to learn all that you are up to in the world. And I wish you the best of luck, because we definitely need more folks out there who are raising their vibration individually and collectively and making the world a better place. Ultimately, I think that's sounds like what you're up to. So I salute you for that.
Thank you, Gloria. And I just want to say thank you so much. I've really enjoyed being here. I appreciate the opportunity.
No, my pleasure. And I appreciate all of you who are watching and listening to the podcast. I appreciate all of you continuing to do that. It is a pleasure to be able to bring really spectacular guests like Nick onto the program and to share what they're doing in the world to hopefully enlighten you as well. So until next time, as always, I do encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.